Let me see here. So I do want to welcome everybody today. Again, just a reminder, as we're getting started, to share I want to say, keep saying GPS, your PDS number and your name so that we can track that and get you the credit that you deserve for being here. We do want to take a little bit of time to let you know that through this presentation, we're going to highlight a lot of other opportunities for you, whether it's a free group or one-on-one coaching topics offered by Decal. We're not mentioning this as advertisement. What we want you to know is that all of these sessions that we're offering, the one-on-one coaching, the group coaching, all of that is we have so much information to demonstrate that it is so beneficial to the businesses. So if after today you'd like to learn more about recruitment and retention, we do have a group that you can sign up for. And then we also have a one-on-one coaching that we'll refer to in the presentation. So please make sure that you put your name and email in the chat with the mention of what coaching you would like to register for, whether you want recruitment and retention group coaching or one-on-one, and that way we can reach out to you and get that set up for you. Okay. And I do want to thank everybody for putting their information in the chat. Okay, so I do have to read our little disclaimer before we get started, that this information contained here has been prepared by Civitas Strategies and is not intended to constitute legal, tax, or financial advice. Civitas Strategies team has used reasonable efforts in collecting, preparing, and providing this information, but does not guarantee its accuracy, completeness, adequacy, or currency. Publication and distribution of this information is not intended to create, and receipt does not constitute an attorney-client or any other advisory relationship. Reproduction of this information is expressly prohibited. Only non-commercial uses of this work are permitted. All right, that's out of the way. So I have several years of experience, 30 plus years working with children. So I have been a teacher, center director, assistant director, and a director. And one thing that, my notes say right away, working with young children and their families can be joyful, invigorating work, and at the same time, it can be very demanding and stressful. Anybody disagree with that one? Let me say something like yes, or it can be fun, right? But it can also have its stress, related things. So, children learn what they see, and of course, they require healthy, calm educators. So in this webinar, what we're going to talk about are some strategies. We're going to explore some strategies that you can use to manage not just your staff stress levels, but your own, as well as, give you some tips to support all of the adults that you work with. And we're going to cover a lot of different topics to not only reduce the stress to retain your staff, okay, but also other things can be done to lower your staff turnover. Okay, because that's a big one, right? So we also are going to recognize how how to recognize employee stress, how to help try to reduce that stress in the workplace, and then again, some retention strategies to avoid that turnover. One of those is to offer benefits, and so we want to explain why you should offer benefits and how does that help in your staff satisfaction. And then we'll also identify some commonly offered benefits and discuss next steps for you in deciding to offer those. Okay. Before exploring some of the stress reducing ideas, please know that this webinar isn't intended to replace counseling or immediate interventions. If for any reason you or a staff member are experiencing extreme stress and indicating or displaying the need for stronger support, we want you to reach out to your local 211. Please do that to support or to connect with services in your community. Dialing 211 for essential community services. There is a link that we have for that we'll place in the chat. And that's available to help navigate various services and supports for anyone in need. Okay. The ideas presented in this webinar are meant to lessen stress in your business, and they're not going to supersede the need for professional or intensive support if that's necessary. Okay. We just want you to understand that part and know that that resource is available. All right, what do stressful days look like for us, right? Stressful days are going to be expected when working with children and families. That's one of the things that, as I do early entry early childhood experience. Early childhood education classes. Some of the first things I tell staff coming into the field or people coming into the field is that working with kids, oh, I love working with kids, but it's not always butterflies and roses, right? It's not always going to be easy. There's going to have crying and wet pants and, throw up stuff and all that. So all of that that can kind of weigh down if you have a lot of that. So how do you manage the stress is also important to you. How you do that, how your staff handle. So it can appear in different ways within yourself and your employees. So according to the Centers for Disease Control, these are some ways that stress can appear in a person. We want you to be able to recognize it, right? So they might display irritation, anger, or denial that they're even upset. Like, I'm fine, I'm fine. But you sense it. They might appear as uncertain, anxious, worried, or nervous, express feeling tired, overwhelmed, and that they aren't motivated. You might hear them communicate that they are burnt out. That's a big one in our field, right? And so they might report of trouble with sleeping or focusing, appear sad or depressed, difficult concentrating or making decisions, and reporting of changes in appetite, energy, and interests. Okay. And as a center director, you know your staff, you get to know them and business owners, right? So then when you start to see that really great teacher, who's always great with the kids, all of a sudden just kind of snap at one or be testy with you, that doesn't, necessarily mean she's a bad staff person. Something could be up, and you want to make sure that you can recognize that to try and address it. Um, as a family childcare provider, a childcare center director leader, you can carry stress about your business, the children in your care, your families, your employees. And so while that stress is understandable, we want to help you find ways to manage and recover from the day-to-day stress that you're experiencing, because that's critical to your health, right? And so here are some things that you can do that will help you. One is disconnect from work, right? So engaging in an activity that doesn't allow you to think about work. It could be reading a book, watching a movie, playing a game with friends, following a new recipe, or something that pulls your attention away from work and onto different tasks. Now we know this is easier said than done, okay? But it's worth giving it a shot, okay? Some of the things I've been doing in the last years or so is doodling. Can you believe that? Just getting notebooks and just creating doodles, right? Jen, she's my fearless leader. She does water painting and stuff, and so she does some of that. And it's really just to find something that relaxes you, that can get your mind off of things. Okay, it's going to allow you to reset and think more clearly when you do turn your attention back to your work. It's really important to take some mini breaks throughout the day. Sometimes in this work, you're so busy tending to everyone else's needs that you forget your own. You can set an alarm for yourself every couple of hours, or as it makes sense for you. Remind yourself to take a mini break. You can use that time to drink a glass of water, take 2 or 3 minutes, just stretch, look out the window, take some deep breaths, some stretches, maybe even walk around your building. Mini breaks don't have to be a large chunk of time, just a brief moment that you shift your attention, so it'll help you refocus. And that can help you make a big difference. I do want to say that as a family childcare provider, it is a little bit harder because your home is your work. So, you can't go check out a bunch of classrooms. A lot of my experience has been center based. And so when I needed to take a break from my administrative work or the phone's ringing or whatever else, it was a good chance for me to just take a walk around the center and check into the classrooms as the teachers, how are they doing? And it kind of gave me that little break. And in a family child care center, you may not be able to do that. But there's things that you can do that other, like say the centers can't. Maybe you can say, you know what, let's just take a break outside. Let's everybody go outside and play and just let them exert themselves and you also take that break. Okay. Um, Outside of work, one of the things that you can do is keep a consistent home schedule. Routines are really essential for spending your days with young children, and that goes for us as adults too. So just like you do in work in the classroom, the teachers know to keep a routine. You keep a routine at work. You also want to do that in your home life. Try to keep a consistent sleep schedule by going to bed and waking up at the same time each day. Incorporate regular exercise, ideally outdoors to help reduce stress and improve sleeping overall. um, the predictability that comes from maintaining a routine, right? Just that in itself can help with lessening stress and anxiety. Okay. Um, Another thing I remember as the director too, that I never felt like I should take my personal time off, my PTO, right? It's okay to use your paid time off. Okay. With so many demands facing you as a family childcare provider or a program leader, taking a day off seems impossible. It can seem impossible. However, the sentiment you can't pour from an empty cup really rings true in this work. So if you're exhausted, if you're overworked, stressed, therefore you have that empty cup, you're going to be unable to pour it into the children, into the families, and the employees that you care for. So taking a day off to take care of yourself, to refill your cup, that's going to allow you to maintain that much needed balance. If you're a family childcare provider with no one to replace you, consider scheduling some days off in the months in advance. Tell your families upon enrollment which days you will be closed so that they can make other arrangements. Intentionally scheduling pauses in your work can go a long way in reducing your stress levels. Um, and I always caution family child care providers that do, or even center-based that do overnight care, that do 24-hour care. Those are some things too that you want to be mindful because that's double work. And burnout can really happen if you're not careful in scheduling all of those. Okay. All right. So just as you take on stress from working with children and families, your employees do as well. Teacher experience, right? Some of us have come up the ranks. We started off as teachers, then we moved into an assistant director and then director positions. So we have that experience. We understand caring for children. Yes, it's rewarding. We're caregivers. It's heartwarming, but it can be exhausting and overwhelming. A lot of times with all of the trauma that happens with children that they come in and they bring it to us. So as a business leader, there are some things that you can do to help your staff manage the stress, um, help to manage that load of work that they have to do. And so we're going to go over 4 questions that can help you to think about how you can help your staff manage the stress. And then I'll also throw in some tips as well. Um, One question that we ask, how often are you checking in with your staff? Have you checked in with them recently? Are you meeting with them on a regular basis just to keep that line of communication open? I'm sorry. So one of the best and easiest ways to lower stress in the workplace is to encourage your staff to talk to you and to each other. Checking in regular with each staff member, that allows you to learn of issues quickly. Checking in doesn't have to be this lengthy or formal situation. However, brief, regular interactions communicate to your staff that you care about their well-being and that you're invested in their success. So be sure to ask them how they're feeling and doing, as well as inquire about what's causing them to stress in their day. So staying open and genuinely curious is going to allow them to share with you their stressors, creating that opportunity for you to find solutions together. So as a center director, I tried to meet with my staff at least once a month. It was a way for us to connect. We would start with an icebreaker, an activity to lighten the mood a little bit. And then, of course, any business that we had to discuss, I would provide. I would also provide some snacks for them or let them bring their own lunch in or whatever they felt like eating if it was after hours. And then we would handle the business part. And having them all together, it was better to give them one message instead of going to each classroom and telling them individually the same message. So if you have them together, they're hearing the same thing at the same time. Um, then I usually saved individual topics if I had to speak to a certain staff member about a certain topic, or if something came up, I would address that during little individual meetings that I would also try to do once a month. Okay. If it's a performance issue, that would also be a good time to talk about it. But checking in with them, if even if you have a performance issue kind of thing that you've got to discuss, if you're just doing a regular check-in on a monthly basis, it's not going to seem like a haha, I got you, you're in trouble kind of thing. It will turn into a let's work it through together kind of thing. We don't want it to be a time where they feel like, oh, you're in trouble. So every staff meeting, we tried to we tried to end it on a positive note. And I always uh, think of the hamburger method. I always tried to use the hamburger method when we were doing that. If you don't know what that is, it's the bun, the meat, the bun, right? Positive, whatever needs to be discussed, business or, things that need to get addressed, and then leave again with the positive, which is the bun again, right? So one of the things I like to do as to kind of help with the work culture and opening up and looking for positives, there was a couple of things that we did. One was giving butterflies. Okay, that sounds kind of crazy, but there was near the staff restrooms, there was a wall. And so I would get those cutouts for calendar cutouts with butterflies, and I would put them all near the restroom. And then I would put a little net with a little notepad and a pencil in there, and we started talking about when you see somebody doing something good, when you see somebody like, oh, thank you, Miss Ashley, that you helped take the dishes to the kitchen for the cook. Thank you so much for doing that. I would write a little note, and instead of telling her verbally, I would put it on the post-it and stick it on a butterfly. And then when Miss Ashley went to the restroom, I would always hear when they would come out, they're like, "Oh, I caught a butterfly," and it was just like somebody acknowledged me, and it was always a smile after that. It really lifted things. After a while, people wanted to give butterflies. People wanted to recognize other people. Parents would use those restrooms too. They were adult restrooms. They started, what are these butterflies, Miss Melinda? Hey, if you see anything good going on, I introduced it during the parent meeting. Parents started looking for that positive. Not always the bad stuff, right? That's a lot of what we always find the kids when they misbehave. We always find the teacher that's doing wrong. Trying to find the good things, that's going to lift your overall morale. We also did give them the pickles, and there is a YouTube video. It's from Bob Farrell. It's called Give Them the Pickle. Okay. And it's a customer service training. It's really, really funny. It's older, but it's funny. And it talks about how to develop the team and customer service. And we use that as a training for the staff. It's about a 20-minute video. And then we started giving pickles away, right? Because it was, customer service it involves, not just the staff, but the kids, the parents. And so we would have pickle jars, all over the center. And instead of a butterfly, we would write a pickle. And then at the meeting, after all these meetings, I would generate them. I would put them together rather. And I would give everybody their butterflies and pickles so they could keep those. And sometimes we'd give incentives if you had more pickles, if you had the most butterflies. Sometimes if you gave the most pickles and butterflies, So having those little incentives to lift morale was a big one. It changed the whole culture of the group. And again, we know that all of this is easier said than done. So these are just tips to try and see what works with your business and your team. Anything to help. Now, as the business leader, the next question we want to ask, are there changes that I can make during the workday? So there are small adjustments that you can make to the workday that can have a huge impact on your employees' well-being. So a couple of ideas for that to consider are to establish a regular schedule. When that the teachers feel more secure when they know their work hours. So again, routines and predictability are beneficial to everyone, your staff members, families, children. So setting that regular schedule, staff members can plan around their work hours, right? You also want to encourage everyone to take a break. Um, and that might be hard to do, right? You might have to go in and um, you know, uh, step in for teachers that need the break. So that can kind of take in and add to some of our stress level. But finding a brief time, either just to do that, to give them those breaks, can go a long way. You also want to include some time for group relaxation. So you may find a brief time either before or after work, to say, like those meetings that we were talking about, but sometimes not a formal meeting, just a time to sit and enjoy a meal together. I did meet for a movie one time with my staff. We went and just all met together in an evening for a new movie that we were all interested in seeing. And it was really a fun time, not work. We didn't talk about work. It was just an opportunity to relax and enjoy each other's company, and that way. So using those are also good outside um, morale investments, shall we say. Um, of course, allowing staff and promoting to use their paid time off, allow having each staff to have that time off is hard in childcare. We have too many staff out. It can be really, really hard. But if they need it, then they need it. And I would say, I'll give this tip as a director. This is something I did. I really tried to avoid offering or letting staff take Mondays and Friday mornings off. I just kind of made that as a rule. Like, I cannot approve time off for Monday and Friday mornings. You can leave early on those days because Mondays and Fridays are usually when people call in sick to extend their weekend or start their weekend. So if you do that, you go ahead and schedule somebody on that day and somebody calls in, you're going to have more staff out. So, and if they still take their time off, then you already kind of had an idea. So, and when staff would call in, I never like, I need you, you should be here. It was more like, okay, I understand. And there's some things that we want to consider when staff are calling in. So we'll talk about that here. Okay. Um, Talking about incentives and rewards first. Traditionally, as a childcare provider, you have an extremely tight budget. We already know that. So that would make it difficult to provide some extra incentives or rewards to your staff. But there's some other ways that are not so expensive options that can motivate your staff and ease stress just the same. Okay. Some simple cost-effective gestures like I talked about the butterflies and pickles, giving those, providing incentives and rewards that make them feel good. Okay. Or doing a monthly potluck where you can provide the main dish and invite your employees to provide some side dishes or buy pizza for the staff one day at lunch. Another idea could be to raffle off a DoorDash certificate or a local restaurant gift card once a week or month, depending on your budget. So your staff member gets a break from cooking at home. Even a candy bar or a payday can be a sweet treat to show that you notice and appreciate them. And I don't really know of any directors that have not done something like this for their staff, right? A little recognition here and there. That's just what we do. So, The other thing that we don't really think about a lot of time is encouraging learning through professional development, allowing staff to attend some conferences or um, have trainers come in that that are different than you providing the training, having a guest speaker come in, so they don't just have to hear us talk all the time. That can be a way to ward off stress, and learn something new. And it's gonna connect your staff members with that high quality professional development experience that can they can carry that into the classroom, and have them use that there. Okay. And like I said, receiving any type of incentive um, is always helpful than just to give them the idea that they're appreciated. Okay. Um, some things that I also would do is kind of offer paid time off if it allows, leaving early, instead of feeling like I have to be here all day on a Friday. Okay, you can leave a couple of hours early on Friday to get the weekend started. Those are the things that you can do, and that's going to lead us to our next step. How can I encourage staff to enjoy time outside of work? Okay. Just as we've encouraged you to find something to do outside of the business, you want to do that for your staff. So, all of those things are to encourage less stress within the workday. Okay. So ask them to consider and get to know what do they like to do outside of work. Sharing those little tidbits to the staff email, create a newsletter, a bulletin board, sharing at the staff meeting. That's going to help your staff think of ways that they can lessen their work-related stress levels. Okay. Now that I've said doodling is something that I do, how many of you are going to look into it? I hope at least one person goes to start, like, what is doodling? What is she talking about? Zen doodling. Okay. Talking about something you like to do might encourage a staff person to do that. Okay. Another thing that, especially with times today, we want to limit our consumption of news and social media. Getting off the scroll, stop scrolling, stop looking at the news, because that can be really depressing sometimes. So trying to do something that's more productive, more relaxing than getting stressed out from the latest headline. Um, and then highlight again the power of routines. Just like we're going to do for yourself, just like we do for the children, your staff need to have that regular routine as well to help them be able to function. Okay. Encourage hobbies and other recreational activities, anything that can come that can help them with their stress relief. It comes in all different shapes and sizes. So encouraging them to uh, reconnect with, that hobby or recreational activity, you're helping them find a pathway to stress relief. Okay. Now, if you notice a staff member who is struggling, you want to reach out with understanding and support. Like I said, if a staff person called in, we don't think of it usually that they may need a mental health day. Um, and I would rather them take that day than to come in and take that out on the children. Okay. It's hard to do that when we're tight staffed, but consider that at least and don't let yourself get worked up. But when an employee reaches a level of stress that they feel that is too overwhelming, they often want to throw in the towel and quit. And we all know that turnover has lasting effects on the childcare business and the children in your care, right? So I know it can be super frustrating and stressful for us as director when the staff person calls in, for example, but you really have to think about a few things when staff call in. If they don't feel well, they're sick. We don't want them to come in and spread the germs. That's one. But if it's a mental day, I would rather them take that day than to come and take it out on the children, as I've said. If a staff person is having a lot of mental break days, that's when you meet with them and maybe discuss options. Talk about these things that we're talking about, really stress relief. And sometimes, the job is not for them. You're coming from a place of understanding for them. We all know the job is not easy. Some people have a hard time with it, but you're also looking at it from a point, from the view of for safety of the children and the overall business. And you want to keep them staffed. It's a lot easier to keep and work with a staff person than to lose them. So you want to make every effort. Now, if you have a staff person that wants to go, you may need to be prepared, right? Employee turnover can have a number of negative effects on your business. For one, it can impact the quality of the business. It can disrupt the daily routines of both the children and the staff, and it can erode the family's confidence in your business's stability. So having a good relationship with your staff is going to help you as the owner or director, and that good relationship might also keep them from wanting to leave. Staff feel if they feel like it's a good place to be and they can trust you and work, and they know that you'll work with them, they'll want to stay. Because losing staff is the last thing we want. Okay, the benefits of working with staff and figuring things out that are good for the business and the staff outweigh the loss. In addition to these more obvious impacts, there's also actual costs that you're going to incur when you lose an employee. Oftentimes, the childcare business owners either don't realize all the costs that they have to cover when they lose an employee, or they don't realize how large they actually are. So that's what we're going to talk about next. Let's break down those components that make up the true cost of turnover. And that's why really taking these kinds of trainings and getting and understanding these tips, it's going to help you with those situations. So again, losing a staff person can have a real negative impact on your business. It's not only affecting the quality of care, but like we said, it can mess up routines. The families are going to be, where's my teacher? What happened to, Miss Ashley? So confidence, you want to maintain that confidence from your families. So in addition to these more important apparent consequences, there are actual costs associated with losing an employee. So this should be even more incentive to try and work things out and be preventative to losing a staff person, because the cost of turnover is really high. The cost of filling lost employee hours expenses are linked to hiring substitutes or temporary staff. So that's an extra cost that you might have to pay. Paying overtime to existing staff during a vacancy. So if you have staff having to cover shifts, that's like, got to pay you more, right? You're paying, when you think about it, you're paying time and a half if you do overtime. So you're not paying just the staff that's gone, but you're paying half of their salary. So it's better to keep the staff, right? Lost revenue due to ratio requirements, right? So if you have two staff leave or whatever, that's a classroom. Who's going to cover that classroom? So you may have to cut back on your enrollment. Without that enrollment, you have no revenue. So that is really important. Another reason why to take the time to look at retaining your staff. Having the expense to recruit your staff. Okay, recruit new employees, doing the process of interviewing, advertising for the job, going to job fairs, the background checks that we have to pay for. Yeah, they're minimal, but they can add up when you do a lot of them, right? A lot of having to do those background checks. So that's something you don't have to do if you don't lose your staff, right? Okay. Administrative costs. Expenses, these are expenses associated with employee discharge, recruitment, and onboarding processes. So when an employee leaves, there are administrative tasks that need to be completed, such as processing their final paycheck, updating records, preparing discharge paperwork. Just like when hiring a new employee, there are administrative costs associated with onboarding, such as preparing the contract, setting up the payroll, creating employee files. There's another one that comes to mind when I think of new employees, just because I have experienced that. Taking the time to teach the new staff person the routines of the center, having another teacher kind of train them. And then if you have a lot going on and they make mistakes, all of those things can cause problems, right? So the administrative costs of turnover also include that time. having to spend on your paperwork, not just and conducting the interviews and then all the other things that go in with the hiring process and getting them acclimated to the job. Okay. Um, Looking at your time and resources invested in getting a new hire up to speed. We just kind of talked about that. The training, the mentoring, all of that. And then the cost of lost expertise. It really hurts when you've had a teacher that's been there for a couple of years and they're burnt out. And they were really great, but they're gone. And that expertise, that level of knowledge is gone. And so having to find the new person that may not have that can also put a strain on the business. Okay, so by understanding and quantifying all of these costs, childcare business owners can better appreciate the true impact of employee turnover on their operations and finances. And this is why we're doing this. This knowledge is going to help you prioritize employee retention efforts and justify investments and strategies that reduce that turnover. So, such as, competitive compensation, benefits, and a positive work environment. Those are the things that we're going to cover here next. Okay, so in a world of childcare, keeping the dedicated and experienced team is like the golden ticket to success. So while investing in benefits like retirement plans, healthcare coverage, or offering professional development opportunities may cost you a bit up front, the cost of turnover can often be a whole lot greater. So for this reason, it's crucial to invest in retention strategies that make your employees want to stay. These strategies can include a fair compensation that reflects the hard work that they put in, providing paths for professional growth within your organization, and creating a work environment where they genuinely want to be. It's true that not every childcare center has the budget to offer the top of the line benefits, but here's the good news: there are plenty of no or low cost strategies that you can employ. Okay, things like focusing on creating the positive work environment, the company culture, organized team building opportunities, or simply making sure your employees feel heard and respected. That goes a long way in reducing your turnover. They start to think, I really enjoy working here. If I leave, I have to start all over again. I don't know what my next manager is going to look like, or how they're going to be. So that's an incentive to stay. The key is to remember that investing in your team now can really save you a bundle in the long run. Ensure that the success and the stability of your childcare center is there. So as you think about retaining employees, consider benefits your program currently offers. Benefits are more than just an expense. They're an investment in your workplace culture and your ability to attract and keep qualified staff. So in today's competitive labor market, employees often compare not only wages, but also the overall support a workplace provides. Even modest benefits can demonstrate that you value your team and want to invest in their success. Throughout this section, we'll talk about different ways of benefits, the different types of benefits, how they can support your employees, and how to evaluate options that fit your business and budget. And of course, this is where I'm going to do my little plug. Sometimes understanding all of these can be a little overwhelming, or you don't know. And if you do need help with any of these and how benefits can impact your business overall, don't want you to forget that we do offer the one-on-one coaching, right? And so we can meet with you. It's not a lot of time. It's 100% free. And that way we can work with you specifically for your business and your needs, whatever that might be. Okay, so don't forget that one-on-one coaching is always available to you. Okay. And we really do, I'm going to say this as well, that we really do have a lot of knowledgeable coaches that understand the ins and outs of those. So you're not, it's people that really know what they're talking about. Okay. So when you offer your benefits, looking at your benefits package, offering the right ones to your employee, that's going to be a powerful way to demonstrate that you value their contributions and support their well-being. You can create a benefit program that not only boosts your morale, but also provides tangible advantages for your business by carefully considering what your staff needs and wants. Okay, that's why we talked about meeting with them regularly, getting that feedback. That's how you're going to know what's going to be beneficial to them. One of the most significant financial benefits of offering a strong benefits package is the reduction in training and turnover costs. When employees feel appreciated and supported, they are more likely to stay with your company for the long term. This stability reduces the need for frequent hiring and training, and all of that saves you both time and money. When your staff is content, motivated, they tend to provide higher quality care and service to the children and families in your program. If you're offering medical benefits, health benefits, when they don't feel well, they have the opportunity to go to the doctor and not stay sick, right? Because they can go take some time to go see their doctor. So this in turn leads to increased enrollment stability. Satisfied families are more likely to continue entrusting their children to you because they know teacher's going to be there every day. And that's one of the biggest things, right? When a teacher's out, having to change our ratios and move kids to, oh, I've got to put 3 kids in this classroom and 4 kids in this one just to maintain ratios. Ugh, right? So families get upset when they have to go to a different classroom to pick up their baby, right? We know that. So having that stable enrollment means a more predictable income stream as well for your families. I mean, for your business. The families aren't going to pull their kids because there's always a teacher out. That helps your business overall. Another thing, by retaining experienced and dedicated employees, you can spend less time on recruiting and more time focusing on your other essential aspects of running your childcare business. This is going to allow you to allocate your resource more effectively and pursue growth opportunities for yourself. If you're not stressing about the staff, that's a benefit for you in itself. To create a benefits package that works for your business, it's crucial to strike a balance between what your employees need and what your financial capabilities are. So take the time to understand what your staff values most, having that meetings with them, getting their feedback, finding out whether it's health insurance, if they want paid time off, more professional development opportunities, any other perk that you can think of. Then assess what you can realistically afford to offer and what aligns with your business goals. Okay. Again, I'll make another plug. If you need help with that, talk to us, reach out to us, and we can schedule somebody to help you look at that. This is where knowing your budget, knowing, your numbers within your budget is really important so that you know what you can offer. Okay. And I always make that plug because that's my favorite thing to talk about. Okay. So depending on your company size and whether individual employees meet certain requirements, there may be some benefits that are legally required of you, such as workers' compensation, Family and Medical Leave Act, FMLA, and even medical insurance. So there are other benefits that are not required, but are common amongst employers and are critical decision-making factors when choosing a place to work. Some staff like, I really need insurance, so I'm going to choose you. Okay, so that's something to consider. We're also going to explore a few of the common benefits that a company can offer. One, paid time off or PTO. That's one of the most common benefits and is widely appreciated among staff. This can include holidays, vacation, and sick days. Having the opportunity to assess PTO can improve staff's overall well-being, which can help reduce your stress and burnout, especially in a job as demanding as ours. Okay, so there's a hard and fast rule on how many PTO days should be offered, and the amount of time offered can gradually increase with more time on the job, right? So, you can decide that and work it through as part of an incentive as well. Okay, health insurance is usually one of the first things that come in mind when someone thinks of the term benefits, and it's highly sought after by employees and job candidates. As such, if there is any one benefit worth offering to your employees, health insurance is the one to consider. In addition to medical coverage, the benefit can include dental, vision, prescription coverage. Options within this offering range from full insurance to telehealth or discount programs. Typically, you would find a benefits provider. Okay, you're going to look for kind of like a broker or something. And then you would talk and offer your employees certain benefits from that provider. You could cover a portion of the cost, and the employee would pay as a set amount per pay period toward the cost of the plan. Alternatively, other options is to simply coordinate the health plan coverage for your staff, offering coverage without financially contributing to the employer's elected coverage. So you're not going to put anything, but at least making that connection. Okay. Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna are two private insurance companies that were frequently named by childcare providers across various states when asked what companies they used. Small businesses can also help their staff sign up for the Affordable Care Act. Um, uh, the ACA is a comprehensive healthcare reform law that provides affordable insurance for individuals. This law addresses health insurance coverage, healthcare costs, and preventative care. Health insurance premiums continue to decrease. Maybe not. That might be an outdate that I know my notes that I should have taken out, because we know that there have been some increases, but there are still some benefits that come from the Affordable Care Act. Okay, and another one to consider, and this is, you might think retirement plan. I'm going to talk about retirement plan. Retirement planning. We don't want them to retire right now, but what nobody ever told me when I first started working was to start investing for my retirement, right? When they're young, when they're able to save that money. So retirement plans, that's going to allow employees to build that financial savings to help them meet their personal long-term financial goals. So we don't want to start planning for retirement when we're 50, like me. We want to do it when we're 20. Okay, so we have more time to build up. So while employees who opt in will need to contribute their desired amount of their salary per pay period, the benefits that are provided by these plans are individual tax savings and having the ability to receive a set amount or match their contributions from their employer. So this will allow the contributions to grow faster, setting them up for higher earnings during their retirement. Okay. Again, as I mentioned, one-on-one coaching. Retirement planning is one of the topics that we have available. Having the retirement plans through the business can benefit the owner, the staff, and the business through tax credits, and the contributions are considered business expenses. So again, if you want to know more about that, now I am not the tax expert. Okay, don't claim to be, and sometimes I don't have answers to questions. But if you do want to know more about how to benefit through the tax incentives and the credits and all of that, sign up for one-on-one coaching. As a matter of fact, we will take your name and number now, if you would like, not now, no, but at the end, if you want us to meet with you about this. Okay, and if you have any questions, we can set that up. Okay. The next one is supplemental insurance. Having that supplemental insurance program, that's going to include coverage such as short or long-term disability, accidental, and other plans to cover unexpected critical health events. Having an employee assistance program is another example of supplemental insurance, which could give employees access to programs that can provide mental health and other well-being supports. These are typically more affordable than offering medical insurance, but they don't replace it. Okay, so keeping that in mind. Okay, so Nora, I just saw that you put your email in is this because you would like to sign up for one-on-one coaching? Just give me a thumbs up if that's the case. Okay. If you want us to sign you up for one-on-one coaching, put your name and your number or your email so that we can reach out to you. Okay, for one-on-one coaching. Now, another one, offering discounted childcare to your staff's own children. is a great benefit that most childcare programs find easy to implement. Great, thank you, Nora. And so not only is this going to benefit the staff peace of mind, because they're like, oh, where am I going to put my baby while I'm working? They can put them there. And then you make sure that your staff comes in because they have childcare. So it one hand helps the other, right? So helping them afford childcare is a big bonus for you and helps to uh, take care of both the business's budget and the staff person's budget, giving them peace of mind. Okay. All right. So we're at that point. Wow. The hour went by pretty fast. I do want to thank you again for taking the time to join this webinar today. But before we close, let's take a moment to review what we've accomplished. And I have some other things that we want to share with you. Workplace stress comes out in many different ways. So be mindful of changes in your staff moods. Okay, behaviors. Sometimes teachers aren't trying to be snappy, they're just tired, and we want to make sure that we help them with that. Burnout is real, right? Even for you. So take proactive and reactive steps to help address the workplace stress, such as establishing the routines, practices in your workplace. Invest in the employee retention strategies that we talked about, the competitive compensation, positive work environment. That can help the childcare business mitigate some of those significant costs and negative impacts associated with staff turnover. Many childcare providers view offering staff benefits to improve the operations by boosting morale, decreasing staff turnover, and investing in the longevity of their most important assets, your staff. Okay, so we hope this information has been valuable to your business. We look forward to seeing you in other Thrive Childcare Pathway Academy topics in the future, and I'm going to share those with you. Okay, because we have some coming up. Um, and as we do that, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to come off. We also want to show you those topics that we cover, and you can register for them on the Decal Thrive Pathway website. We also have some new trainings hosted by Civitas Strategies that are coming up. Here's a flyer for that. You would be able to, again, talking about those tax credits that are coming up. Um, uh, that are specific to your state in Georgia. Okay, so this is also available. How you would register for those. We do have a link, unlocking business supports to tax credits, and then of course the links to sign up. If you have a question, you can always reach out through us through the email, which is Georgia or gacoaching@civstrat.com. Okay. Don't forget our small study groups that we have. If you haven't taken these, please sign up. They're really great. That's the Spanish version there. Okay, we do have QR codes to do that. This is the one for English. Be quick, be quick. And here's the one for Spanish. Okay, and then join us for our next sessions. We have the next topics coming up, which is Future Growth Business Planning, July 28th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And we have Technology 3, Enhancing Communication with Technology. That's coming up on Friday, August 7th. Those are our next two webinars that we'll be sharing and presenting with. And here's the ones in Spanish to register. Okay, and then tax education. If you want help on your taxes, this is a big one. You don't want to wait till January to start doing this. It's coming up. So we want to make sure that we're ready for tax season. It's coming up. We want to make sure we're good. Okay. Pull out our shoe boxes and stuff for family chapter. Pull out that file that has just the receipt stuffed in there and invoices. Pull all that out. Start getting ready. Okay. Then let us know how we did. Okay. Let us know if there's any way that we can help you and give us some feedback. Okay. So here's a QR code. Any questions? And if again, go ahead, Miss Elder.
It's April. It's April.
Oh, April. Okay, sorry.
Can you go back to the first screen slide that you had with the how to register for the classes? Sure. Yes, ma'am.
Let me see the first green slide. This one?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Thank you.
No problem. I know I went through them quickly, but wanted to make sure I got everybody. Let me know if you need another one. Again, thank you everybody for coming in. Again, we're gonna look for emails and names to get you scheduled for one-on-one coaching.
Linda,
Okay?
I slammed everybody with links so in the chat. So if we could just give everybody a minute, just if there's anything, if they want to scroll through the chat and see if there are any links that help them. I know sometimes
Sure.
QR codes are a little challenging, and I'm just going to make sure that I do put that link in there one more time about the to register for all of the coaching. I'm behind on my links, everybody, because there's a lot of links. So hang on just a second. Let me just get that going here.
We did put the Give them the pickle link in there, so if you
We
want to see
did,
that video,
yeah.
thank you, Jen, for putting that
You're
in. It's
welcome.
really a good one. I use that one a lot.
And
It's an older
honestly,
video.
anybody can email us at any time if you forget these links that the GA with GA coaching at civstrat.com. We're more than happy to get you registered if you're interested. So please, please, please just let us know. We love nothing more, and Decal makes this free, folks. So please. And if there's no, I mentioned in the chat, if you don't see a topic on that list for one-on-one coaching that you're interested in, shoot us an email because I bet I will find an expert on our team, I should say, that can help us. So let by all means, please, would love to talk to everybody.